You know what's strange? We spend so much of our lives waiting to feel ready, waiting for permission, waiting for the fear to go away. But what if the fear never leaves? What if that tension, that discomfort, that creative resistance is actually pointing us toward the work we're meant to do? That question hit me hard when I picked up The War of Art by Steven Pressfield, because from the very first page, it felt like he was naming every fear, every self-doubt, every moment of being scared that had ever stopped me from starting. I went into The War of Art expecting something practical, maybe advice on productivity, discipline, or managing time better. What I didn't expect was how personal it would feel. Pressfield doesn't give you systems or hacks. He gives you truth. And honestly, it was uncomfortable. Because instead of telling me what to do, he showed me who I'd been avoiding becoming. As I read, I started recognizing all the subtle ways I'd been sabotaging myself. The excuses that sounded reasonable, the delays that felt justified, the promises I kept making to start tomorrow. What really struck me was how Pressfield defines the central enemy of creative life. He calls it resistance, and he treats it like a real force, not just a feeling. Resistance is the voice that tells you you're not ready yet. It's the distraction that suddenly feels urgent when you sit down to work. It's procrastination, self-doubt, overthinking, and even numbing yourself with busyness. And the more meaningful the work is, the louder resistance becomes. That idea alone shifted something in me. I'd always assumed that fear meant I wasn't cut out for certain things. But Pressfield flips that completely. He says the fear is actually evidence that the work matters. The stronger the resistance, the more important the work is to your growth. And when I really let that sink in, I stopped seeing fear as a stop sign. I started seeing it as a signal. As I kept reading, I noticed how Pressfield kept coming back to one major shift: the difference between living like an amateur and choosing a professional mindset. The amateur waits. The amateur negotiates with fear. The amateur waits for confidence, motivation, or inspiration to show up first. The professional doesn't. The professional shows up anyway, even when it's uncomfortable, even when there's judgment from others, even when no one is watching. That part challenged me deeply. I realized how often I'd been waiting to feel ready before taking action, waiting to feel confident before starting, waiting for clarity before committing. But Pressfield makes it clear, confidence doesn't come before the work. It comes from the work. You don't overcome fear and then act. You act in spite of fear, and that's what changes you. One idea that stayed with me long after I closed the book was this: inspiration follows action, not the other way around. Professionals don't wait for the mood to strike. They sit down and do the work, and inspiration meets them there. That reframed so much for me. I stopped asking, "Do I feel ready?" and started asking, "Am I willing to show up today?" There's also this deeper layer running through the book about honoring your true self. Pressfield suggests that resistance isn't just about avoiding work. It's about avoiding who you're meant to become. Every time we choose comfort over courage, we quietly betray that deeper calling. And when I read that, it felt uncomfortably accurate. I started thinking about the ideas I'd abandoned, the goals I'd talked myself out of, not because I didn't want them, but because I was afraid of failing, or worse, succeeding and having to live up to it. What ultimately moved me most was Pressfield's insistence that the work itself is the reward. Not recognition. Not applause. Not outcomes. Just the act of showing up every day and doing the thing you were put here to do. That's where personal growth happens. That's where meaning is built. Through discipline, through consistency, through taking action even when no one's watching. If you apply even part of what the War of Art teaches, your life won't suddenly become easier, but it will become clearer. You stop negotiating with resistance. You stop waiting for the perfect moment. You start showing up day after day, doing the work. And over time, that consistency builds something real, a body of work, self-respect, and a life that feels aligned with who you truly are. Fear doesn't disappear, but it loses its power. It stops being an obstacle and becomes a guide. And slowly, you step into what Pressfield calls becoming a professional. Like and subscribe for more book breakdowns and mindset insights from Well-Read Club.